Coast FM 963. I have the pleasure of Carlos Camacho, our lovable psychologist and philosopher, in the studio for a chat once again. Thanks for coming in, Carlos.
Thank you, Deb.
Always great to see you.
Yeah, same here. I love coming in.
Me too. And after last week's chat, what an interesting subject. Can't wait to talk about it more. Today we decided to do part 2, didn't we?
Yes. Oh, I was so happy that so many people called me, emailed me, wanting a bit more on Plato and Socrates and a bit of ancient Greek philosophy.
Okay, let's elaborate on that. Starting off with Plato and the allegory of the cave. Can you explain that a little bit more? Last week we didn't go as far into it.
Yes, it's a wonderful piece of writing. I mean, for those who wish to maybe find something on Plato, it's a wonderful thing to start with, the allegory of the cave. It's just a little story he uses in one of his books called The Republic. So he had quite a few books. He wrote a lot. But the wonderful thing about Plato as a philosopher, he's a fantastic writer.
And storyteller.
Great storyteller and extremely funny. Still, even for now, he's very funny. A lot of the things he wrote was also in dialectic, which is like dialogues. So he had characters. One of them, of course, being Socrates, his wise teacher.
Yes.
And but he also used a lot of people within Athens of the time that were quite well known.
Okay.
And he has a wonderful story called the Symposium, where he unites all these people, and it's like a party. And what it is, a party, and there's drinking going on. But they decide, look, let's not drink, let's talk philosophy before that. So they were very wise in that.
They were.
And so the allegory of the cave, Plato tries and is the first to look at the nature of reality in a consistent way. And he uses an analogy of a cave, that we are born in a cave, but facing towards one wall only.
Yes.
Somehow we may be chained and we can't look back, but behind us there's a fire. And we can only see the shadows that we cast on the wall in front of us and the shadow of others.
Yes.
But interesting too, he says, and this can be used also for it's current today, that in front of the fire there are other people with puppets showing what reality is. And so they're creating a reality for us. And because we can't turn around, we believe that these shadows are reality.
Yes. And what happens when someone goes out of that cave?
Well, what Plato says is that somehow some people are capable of breaking a chain, turning around. That happens through curiosity and investigation, through reading and through studying philosophy. And we must understand that philosophy in those ages wasn't what we call philosophy today. Philosophy was just talking and wanting to know more. It didn't necessarily mean coming up with a thesis, a grand thesis, or complicating the subject like we have today with postmodern philosophy, and which is really elitist. It's just for some people. Philosophy then, especially Plato, through Socrates, wanted to bring it back to the people. And so he felt that anyone is capable of doing that, but only some will turn around and see the fire for what it is and see who is casting those shadows.
Yes.
And then once they get to that level, they can reach another level. It's almost like studying more.
Yeah.
You get a certificate 1, certificate 2. Then you can walk out of the cave into the world and see the real source of life, which is the sun.
Okay. But what about maybe you can't stay out there? You think it's safer back in the cave, so you might go back in the cave.
And Plato has his wonderful way of doing that. Of course, I just said it in a few seconds, but it's a wonderful chapter where he describes the person adjusting their eyes to this new reality and can't believe it at first.
Okay.
Because they've been for years subject to this reality, this nature of appearance, which Plato calls the philosophy of ideas. So all that exists is this appearance, an idea of what we have of reality. But to get to the source, you have to read, you have to be able to get past those points, go outside, but some people won't be able to cope with that new reality and will run back in because they're comfortable.
Stay in the comfort zone.
That's right. Stay in your comfort zone. And for some people, that's not a bad idea because it's too much of a big transcendence to see reality for what it is, because despite that reality, the reality of appearance not being good for them, it's still what they know, isn't it? And we all know people like that, don't we?
We do. Yeah, they're comfortable the way they are.
Yeah, we know people in relationships, for example, that they know it's a bad relationship. They know they shouldn't be in it. And others may tell them, whether they're friends or close family members, they may even tell themselves, but they don't make a move because it's what they know. And they're scared of what can come next.
Yes, because there's always more, isn't there? More
That's
to
right.
learn.
Yeah, and then there's the other person who will adjust to that reality, but due to the excitement of finding this, do you imagine after all these years finding that the world isn't just shadows cast on a wall? That person would want to then go back into the cave and tell the others. But what happens is that the others will laugh at that person because they won't believe him. And we all know stories like that too, that sometimes we find this new thing and we try to tell others. And Plato would say that the philosopher king, he calls that, the person who gets to that stage, usually then will try to teach people in a way they can understand slowly and through art and poetry.
Yeah, so it's all about surrounding yourself with people to discuss people's ideas, maybe what you think you can expand on. We don't always
That's
know
right.
What we need to know. There's always more, isn't there?
There's that duality that we call of reality. Ontology is consisted of two things: the reality that we know through our senses, and then there's an absolute reality that may or may not exist. So both of these have been heavily studied throughout the history of philosophy, and there's people that have different opinions, of course, but it's wonderful to look into it. Another thing that Plato did 2,500 years ago was state that in a perfect world, in a perfect society, because he was also composing the perfect society, how it would look, and in that society, he said that women would have exactly the same amount of power as women, as men. Isn't that amazing?
That is.
2,500 years ago, he thought that the perfect society, people would be equal, including men and women.
Yeah.
And so once they're able to form that type of society, then people would learn from each other, and there would be less chance of war, because by nature people are good. As you talked last time about that memory soul, we're born.
Soul memory, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
We're born knowing.
We're born knowing. According to Plato, all we're doing is recollecting once we study what we already know. Women have that capacity as well. It's a shame that a lot of that type of philosophy wasn't taken up by later philosophers, because it took then 2,400 years for women's rights to be looked at seriously. But Plato, funny enough, was very much ahead of his time. He also believed, of course, there were some people that were good at some jobs. So he wasn't totally against things like slavery, because these things evolved with time. But he did believe that we all have a gift, and we're better off giving to society that gift. So if you're a good poet, you should work as a poet. If you're a great DJ in a radio station, you should be doing that. And so
singer.
That's better for you, for your soul, and for society.
Yes. Because, as we'll leave it here, because we have our physical selves that we do worry about, don't we, taking care of, but often we forget to remember that we are souls having a physical experience, and we need to really look after our souls and give us that soul food.
Yes, exactly. And we can nourish our soul and we can nourish our body. We know the body pretty well, even though none of us study the body much. We have a pretty good idea of what's good for us.
Yes.
But with the soul, not so much. And Plato and Socrates, all this time ago, believed that it's as important as the body.
Beautiful, Carlos. And to get us out of this beautiful chat here, Frankie Valli you chose.
Yeah. I love the melody of this song, and it's a little bit related to what we're talking about, because it's a form of discovery.
Okay. Frankie Valli, Can't Take My Eyes Off You on Coast FM 963 with the classic hits throughout your day, 27 minutes to 12.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At long last, love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. Pardon the way that I stare. There's nothing else to compare. The sight of you leaves me weak. There are no words left to speak. But if you feel like I feel, please let me know that it's real. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. To be true, can't take my eyes off you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At long last, love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you.